Hey guys, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Stateside Footy. It is Thursday night, and I hope you guys have had yourselves a phenomenal work week. But listen, man, it is time for the show, and of course, we are talking soccer tonight. U.S. men's national team, and of course, we are predicting the March roster for the upcoming, for the upcoming camp for the U.S. men's national team as they set to take on Belgium and Portugal, part of the World Cup warm up. And of course, we're only, 2 months away from this thing, and so to be honest with you, and I'm absolutely excited because once we hit the March camp, we are just a first cousin away from World Cup 2026. And before we do it, let's go ahead and make sure you hit your like and subscribe buttons. And if you guys are watching on TikTok Live, the YouTube description is in my bio. So head on over here and hit the like and subscribe buttons. Or if you're just having a good time on TikTok Live, you can also hit the follow button here as well too. So, okay, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, this is going to be an interesting camp because I would probably assume we're going to see the usual cast of characters. Now, the interesting thing about this is as we begin with strikers, and this is kind of an interesting one because with the injury to Ricardo Pepi, it has thrown the entire striker pool out of whack because, with Pepi in the fold, obviously our, striker one, striker two kind of just, picks itself. And then, if you want to bring that third striker, you're almost certainly can pick about the rest of the three. Of course, Damian Downs had made the switch, to the Bundesliga to prep himself to potentially get on this World Cup roster, which was a good move for him. And then you have the likes of Patrick Agyemang, who is kind of hit or miss with Derby County in the championship, and of course Josh Sargent. And the interesting thing about Josh is currently, yes, he's still with Norwich, but there is a good chance that he might land with Toronto in Major League Soccer. As of right now, Norwich City does not look like they're about to give up on him. And so as of right now, he's still with Norwich City. The three strikers that I actually predict for the March window are going to be obviously Flo Balogun, is Flo Balogun with which is striker one. I have Patrick Agyemang, who's going to be called into this one, and it's kind of it's kind of obvious that Patrick Agyemang is probably going to make this roster, considering that throughout the course of 2025, starting with Camp Cupcake, he's essentially been called into most camps in 2025, and as he's made the jump to the championship, he's had some good games, he's had some not so good games, but the reality is, I would probably assume with Pepi out, Agyemang is in, and so that kind of leaves striker three for this, for this camp. And I'm probably going to have to go with Josh Sargent because as of right now, you kind of need somebody. And the idea that Pochettino is probably going to go with a guy like Brian White, probably not. I can't necessarily see that, considering that it's not really to his advantage to necessarily take a Major League Soccer striker at this point, because at this stage, you're worried about form and some of these other things. And so as of right now, if Josh Sargent does not make the jump to Major League Soccer, I would probably assume he's going to get called in this one. And so those are my three strikers. The only reason why I didn't have Haji Wright in this one is because Haji Wright has not scored in 17 matches since he scored the double. Since he scored the brace against Australia in the October window, and that's a long time to go without a goal. And it just simply is what it is. So my strikers for this upcoming camp are going to be Balogun, Agyemang, and Sargent. Three that give you the best opportunity to score goals. And as of right now, Flo Balogun is probably in his best form. There's nothing that would make me believe that he's not going to carry that form into March. And you're just kind of hoping that both Patrick Agyemang and Josh Sargent are going to finally hit a purple patch or finally round into form by the time we get to that point. because obviously not having Ricardo Pepi kind of hurts this team. It is what it is. All right, let's go ahead and move to our forwards, and I have 5 on this one. Now, this is going to be an interesting dilemma here, because I have this as a 25-man roster, but that being said, it wouldn't surprise me if they carry one more, and it would probably be in the forwards, because it almost feels like when it comes to defenders, I think this is going to be on the money, as you will see. So if they want to carry another forward, this is probably where maybe a Yunus Musa comes into play, because he's getting a little bit more time with Atalanta. Or if you want to carry Gio Reyna into this conversation, I wouldn't have a problem with this as all too. But the 5 that I have, obviously Christian Pulisic, obviously number 10. He is the captain of this U.S. men's national team. And as of right now, Christian Pulisic is 100% ready to go for the March camp. As a matter of fact, there is a case to be made that he's currently being rotated a little bit, but he's still obviously one of their 2 top attackers at AC Milan. And currently right now, I think he's like either tied for the lead or he has the lead in Serie A when it comes for goals. And this is going to be the guy. By the way, this is the World Cup for Christian Pulisic. He missed out on 2018 because we didn't qualify. 4 years later, comes to Qatar, and at that stage, that was his first opportunity in a World Cup. He did have a big moment, but now this is what we like to call the second cycle for a big rising star for a guy like that's who's established for a guy like Christian Pulisic. This actually would have been his 3rd cycle, but obviously it's number 2. And this is going to be the World Cup where he actually cements his legacy as a U.S. men's national team player. We like to hold Landon Donovan up on a pedestal, and we like to hold Clint Dempsey up on a pedestal for the things that they do. One of the things that is missing from Christian Pulisic is that defining moment as a U.S. men's national team player. And this is going to be the World Cup to do it on home soil. I can't stress enough how important this World Cup and this cycle is going to be for the legacy of a guy like Christian Pulisic, and I think he knows it as well too. And if he can stay healthy, and this is a big if, because it just seems like key players for the U.S. men's national team, just end up going down at the worst possible moment. I.e., Tyler Adams is out for this one. Pepi is out for this one. 2 huge players for this squad not going to be available. So Christian has to goddamn be available, not just for the March camp, but also for the World Cup as well too. The second inclusion on this list is going to be Malik Tillman, and it kind of at this stage it kind of picks itself as well too. Malik is an unbelievable inside forward off the right side. He likes to cut in onto his left foot. He's absolutely dangerous. Big body, can bang with pretty much any center back. He does it in the Bundesliga right now. One of the things that's a little bit underwhelming is the fact that his GA in the Bundesliga isn't necessarily where I thought it would be at this stage. But again, dude's cutting his teeth in the Bundesliga for the first time in his career, and he's actually kind of passing with flying colors with Bayer Leverkusen. But the last time we saw him in a U.S. kit, he was absolutely fantastic for the red, white, and blue. The next name on my list is going to be Brendan Aronson, and this is kind of a no-brainer for me because as the season has progressed for Leeds United, Brendan Aronson has been absolutely phenomenal. Whether he's coming off the bench first, coming first off the bench, or whether he's starting, the last 4 out of the last 5, he's either had a goal and assist, and now all of a sudden, he's doing the things that a lot of people didn't think that he was going to be possible at this level. But listen, man, Brendan's defying all the haters that didn't think he was able to play at the Premier League level, including me too, because I was one of the guys who may have said his brother might be a little bit better based off of last year when his brother was in the Eredivisie. But Brendan stuck with it, and he's an automatic lock on my World Cup roster as of right now. And I would find it hard, hard to find a person who probably wouldn't have him as well too. We do have a comment from Derpy 501 51st 2. Is Gio available or not? And this is and Derpy, here's the thing. As I was pulling up the forwards, this is where I think that if you're going to carry an extra attacker for specifically this March, if you went with Gio, I wouldn't have a problem with it as well too. Mine's a 25-man roster, but I would probably assume there's going to be 26, and this is going to be the area we're going to carry that extra player. And if it's Gio Reyna, it's Gio Reyna. I just didn't add him onto this one because I just went with 25, but I wouldn't care if it was Gio Reyna. I don't necessarily know if Gio's done enough to come into this camp, but you never know. Another name on the forward list is Weston McKennie, and of course, Wes is obviously going to be in this camp. And of course, a lot of people think this might be a dress rehearsal for the World Cup roster. I actually kind of agree in some respects to this one. Weston McKennie, by the way, since Juventus has replaced their head coach, Weston McKennie has been in the starting 11, and he's been absolutely fantastic. And it seems kind of funny, ever since it was announced that Juve is not going to renew his contract after the season, he has absolutely gone ballistic. And I think it's 5 out of the last 6, he's had a goal and assist. The dude has just been unbelievable. And from that standpoint, he is now, getting himself into a preparatory, preparations for the World Cup as well too. Because I think there's a few guys that actually have to come large in this World Cup if they want to continue their European quest. Weston McKennie is going to be one of them. Ruby goes on to say, my thing is Gio is too explosive to be left off. I wouldn't say explosive is the right word, Derpy. What I would say is that talent-wise, he is one of the best 26 players that represents the United States. I will say that. The interesting thing about saying that he's explosive is the fact that I can make a case where if he's that explosive, how come he's not starting for Borussia Mönchengladbach every single week? He's not. And it's hit or miss with the club as of this moment right now. But again, if you want to include him, I'm not going to tell you no, because I actually happen to think that he might. Last on this list is Diego Luna, and again, just like Patrick Aubameyang, last year Diego Luna essentially made himself a name in that January Camp Cupcake, and he has essentially been called into every single camp of 2025, and it's to the point where I think that Diego Luna has potentially sealed himself a roster spot in Mauricio Pochettino's World Cup squad. He likes him. He's tough. He's durable. And in space, he actually is he actually is a creator. Now, there is some worry about the level that he's going to face in the World Cup. But that being said, when Mauricio Pochettino is looking down his bench, is looking for somebody in the 75th minute to bring on, somebody that he absolutely trusts, Diego Luna is going to be one of those guys. And he seems to fit with these guys as well, too. And so from that standpoint, Diego Luna will be on my March roster. And he's asking if Derby is asking if Way is still there. He is. Let's go to the midfielders here. And this is another one that was kind of done dirty by injury, because obviously Tyler Adams is not going to be available for this one. And it's a shame as well too, but shit, injuries happen. So what are you going to do? We begin with Tanner Tessman, who is going to be a part of this roster as well too. He's probably the best defensive midfielder right now for the United States. And he was coming back from a little bit of a knock there, but just got his first 90 this last weekend. And it looks like Tanner is going to be ready for the March camp, and it's going to be absolutely monster, because Tanner's going to be one of the guys later this summer, and we suppose that Tyler is going to be back for the World Cup, and if that's the case, that's probably going to be your 2 6s that are going to be playing above your back 3. him and Tyler Adams. And so from that standpoint, this is going to be a massive window for a guy like Tanner Tessman, because as of right now, with the inclusion that I have of Johnny Cardoso, who has a lot of ground to make up. But that being said, if he has himself a window where it is undeniable, now all of a sudden you have essentially three CDMs that are going to be in such a good position when it comes to what you're going to be starting battling for minutes when it comes to the World Cup. And that's exactly what you want at this position. The other name that I have on this one is Aiden Morris. And I think Aiden comes in as well, too, as a depth 6. And Aiden's okay. He's solid. Not necessarily the best, the best in our player pool at the 6. But that being said, it's that's the thing, is if Tyler Adams were actually available on this one, I don't think he actually makes this roster. But because he's out, because Adams is out, Morris is in. And one of the things that has been interesting about Aiden Morris over the last month in the championship is that his, unlike the first 3 months of the season, over the last month, his play has been a little bit inconsistent. I wouldn't say erratic. That's not the right word, but inconsistent is a little bit. He'll have a downer game in this one. He'll have a downer. Yeah, he'll have a performance where you're just kind of like, that's not up to his standards. And it's kind of interesting too, because both Coventry City and Middlesbrough are kind of shaky at the moment. No one is really just trying to take over the championship right now, Middlesbrough included. And lastly is going to be Christian Roldan. And again, like Diego Luna, I think Christian Roldan is going to be brought in to the March camp as well too. And I actually think it's going to be interesting, right? This is like the Kyle Beckerman role when it comes to the U.S. men's national team. One of those type of guys who are probably going to make it on the World Cup roster. Now, again, it doesn't mean he's going to start in the World Cup, but when it comes to depth and when it comes to liability, he is going to be the type of guy that Mauricio Pochettino loves, because not only does he show up and play hard, he is the type of guy that has that gravitas in the locker room, to pull guys together, considering that Christian Roldan has pretty much won everything in his career here in the United States. And so from that standpoint, I would probably think that Roldan makes this roster. Let's go ahead and turn to the wing backs here. And I got 5. And we begin with Anthony Robinson, Jedi. He is finally back. And if there's anybody that's coming back off injury that I'm excited about, it's Anthony Robinson. He's been out for a good portion of the year. And it was kind of interesting, too, because up until recently, you were kind of wondering if Anthony was going to get over the knee injury. He did. And as soon as he stepped into Fulham starting 11, he's essentially their best player. And because of that, all of a sudden, Fulham start getting results. And most recently, they beat Chelsea. So, and it's also, by the way, it's also no coincidence that Raul Jimenez automatically started looking a lot better when Anthony Robinson took the field. The other guy is Serginho Dest, obviously, and it's going to be nice having our starting right and left wing backs for this camp. It's been interesting. Don't get me wrong, Max Arfson's filled in quite nicely for Anthony Robinson, but nobody can replace Jedi on this team. He is a leader. And just like Christian Pulisic, there's a couple guys here that want to have that big moment for the U.S. in the World Cup. This seems like it's going to be the World Cup for a few players. And considering that Anthony Robinson's 27, 28, one of the things that he wants to do is move to a big club in England, right? One of the best ways to do it, if people aren't convinced because you play for Fulham, you do it at a World Cup. And the timing couldn't be perfect. And me, obviously, guilty. I'm a Tottenham fan. I would love to see him wearing my Tottenham shirt. I have back Starfston making this team because you're going to need a backup for Jedi, and he certainly served this team well throughout 2025. Had a lot of caps last season, and he actually did a pretty remarkable job, all things considered. I also have Tim Weah on this list as well too, currently playing in that right wing back position for Olympique Marseille, and he's actually doing a pretty good job of it. And the other thing is sometimes he also play up as a forward, can score a goal. So from that standpoint, the speed, the physicality, and his ability to deliver a ball into the box, he's going to be on this roster. And lastly is Alex Freeman. And Freeman, again, the interesting thing about Freeman is I have him on this one as well too. And it's going to be interesting to see because the last camp, we also saw him deployed as a right-sided center back. And so the ability to kind of drop back and play deep, but also push up the pitch is going to be kind of an interesting situation for Freeman. With Weah in camp as well too, it's going to be curious to see exactly how Pochettino uses both Weah and Freeman, because I think both of them to kind of deserve to be on the roster. Both of them add depth, and it also means that you may or may not have to carry an extra center back as well too, especially if there's a center back you don't trust. Speaking of center backs, when it pertains to the March window, I actually have Chris Richards, obviously, and Richards is finally back off the injury. I think he actually had a couple stitches, missed a few games, but he is back. I think he played this last week for Crystal Palace, and it was absolutely monster too because without him anchoring that back three, they were a little susceptible, but he's back, and I think they actually ended up getting a win as well too. Tim Ream will be back as well too, and I don't see a scenario where Tim Ream is not going to be a part of the center back core until after the World Cup. It's kind of like this is it for Tim Ream, and because he's, I guess you can say, the best center back with the ball at his feet, there is something to say about that. But when it comes to pace and when it comes to physicality, I'm not his biggest fan, but I can understand exactly why he still is a part of the U.S. program. Mark McKenzie, I have on this list as well too, and I think it's rightfully earned. Now, granted, he doesn't play for the greatest team in France, but that being said, he's still pretty solid. When it comes to the depth with the center back pool, he is probably the second or third best center back right now. And when you look at his age, it's actually not going to be, like a one cycle type of deal. He's probably going to be around for 2030 as well too. I think he's only getting better, and it's going to be interesting seeing what happens over the next 4 years as we lead to 2030. I have Joe Scally on this list as well too, and the interesting thing is like the last window that we saw Scally, and he was playing on that right side of the back three, didn't necessarily play all that well. Goes back to Borussia Mönchengladbach. They make a coaching switch, and now he's, playing the right side of a back three, and he's actually playing it incredibly well. This last weekend, he scored a goal as well too, and so from that standpoint, Joe Scally is going to be a part of the center back group. And when you consider the alternatives, it makes a lot of sense. The interesting thing is how this is going to play out, right? I would probably assume that come game one of the World Cup, your back three is going to be Tim Ream on the left, Richards through the middle, and Scally off the right. I can probably see that. And I wouldn't necessarily hate it, but again, it's not exactly the best that we can deploy, but under the circumstances, it is what it is. And lastly, I have Noah Kai Banks. And when you look at this young kid and what he's doing with Augsburg in the Bundesliga, he's been absolutely fantastic. And I think it's a testament that he can potentially play his way onto a World Cup roster. And I'm not trying to sound, I'm not trying to, lead with hyperbole. We've seen it before, but one of the things that he has done since essentially November has been consistent and has been playing so great for that team. And they're not the best team in Germany, but it's kind of interesting when you see a young kid perform at that high level and have exceptional numbers. to the point where I don't think Mauricio Pochettino can leave him off. The only problem that I have with this is if you're going to bring him in, you have to play him. You cannot just have him sitting on the bench. That's just not how this works. If you're going to give 2 starts to Miles Robinson, you sure as hell can give, a start to Noah Kai Banks just to see exactly how he looks and then how he's able to gel with Tim Ream and Chris Richards. Because if it does, there's your solution. I want to welcome Nateski75, who says, "Hey, Stateside, RIFC TID." I love it. Good to see you, Nate. All right, yeah. So that's the thing. It's like the center backs are going to be kind of interesting, and the reason why I don't have 6 is because of that addition of Alex Freeman. And Freeman, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how Poch uses Freeman. But again, if you're going to bring in Noah Kai Banks, you got to play him, and he can't just be a token roster inclusion just to kind of get a feel of what it's like with the first team. That's not how it works. Like if this is a dress rehearsal, it's a dress rehearsal. And again, I don't think the occasion's going to be too big for Noah Kai Banks to go out there and play football. He's a special young kid, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this one turns out. Lastly, let's go ahead and talk about the goalkeepers. And I think it kind of picks itself. The goalkeeper position isn't exactly the greatest. But that being said, Matt Freese is the number 1, and he's been the number 1 for quite some time now. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how he handles the World Cup because, it's one thing to do it in friendlies. It's another thing to do it in the Gold Cup, maybe a Nations League. But that being said, now all of a sudden you go to the biggest stages. And, of course, you're talking about a dude that plays for NYCFC in Major League Soccer. So not a lot of big stages. But that being said, he's got the tools. And there's, as far as I'm concerned, there is no other reason to think that he won't be the number 1. He's got the best hands. Maybe he doesn't have necessarily the best feet, but the problem with the whole thing with this is like the one thing that you need your keeper to do is to block shots, and he does it a little bit better than Matt Turner, who, by the way, is number 2 on my list. And Matt Turner does have the World Cup experience of 2022, and that's why he's on this one, is because your number 2 should actually be the most experienced if you're going to do that. And of the keepers in this keeper pool, Matt Turner is pretty much the only one that has that kind of experience. So from that standpoint, I have him at number 2, and then number 3, you pick. It doesn't matter who your number 3 is. If you want to go Diego Coaching, go Diego Coaching. I went with Jonathan Klinsmann because he's okay. He knows the program, and so from that standpoint, he knows what Pochettino is looking for a third keeper, I guess. It doesn't necessarily matter. If you want Chris Brady, okay, whatever. Patrick Schulte, okay. I'm not going to argue. The third keeper is irrelevant. Now, some will probably say that the third keeper should go to a young player like a Diego Coaching because, you want that young player to get a taste of a World Cup. Okay. I'm good with that. I'm 100% okay with that as well, too, if that's the route you want to go. But there it is. So let's go ahead and recap real quick. My strikers, Balogun, Aubameyang, and Sargent. And when you consider the injury to Ricardo Pepi kind of threw the entire striker pool out of whack, it kind of makes sense that these would be the 3. I left Haji Wright off because Haji Wright hasn't scored since the last time he actually put the U.S. shirt on. And that season has kind of gone downhill for him. So of the 5 or 6 strikers that we have, these 3 probably are the best. I can't imagine we will see an MLS-based striker like a Brian White. I don't think we're going to see that. Form, match readiness is probably going to be something that Pochettino is going to look at. And these three are obviously our most fit at the moment. Forwards, Pulisic, Tillman, Aronson, Luna, and McKennie. And again, if there is going to be an extra player added to make it 26, this is going to be the position that they will do it, and it will probably be Gio Reyna. To the midfield, Tessman, Cardoso, Morris, and Roldan. And I can see this. I can see this being quite accurate. I have Johnny Cardoso coming back in because Johnny needs at least one more look with the U.S. men's national team before we can write him off. He is fully back and he is fully fit, playing for Atletico Madrid. With Tyler Adams out until the World Cup, you're going to have to see how he fits, and we're going to have to see how he plays and how he looks. The last time we saw him was pre-Gold Cup, and he absolutely looked horrible. But a multitude of things could have been happening then, and it is what it is. So this would be a good time to bring him back in. And that, I would like to see both Cardoso and Tessman play well in this window, especially Cardoso, because I think he's just a special talent. But Tessman as well too. Wingbacks: Jedi, Serginho Dest, Max Arsene, Tim Weah, and Alex Freeman. And and I think the inclusion of Freeman makes sense considering when you look at the center back pairings. I can't see an Austin Trusty or Miles Robinson being on this one. Speaking of which, let's take a look at them. Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Joe Scally, and Noah Kai Banks. And again, I think this five makes sense. And of course, you're going to have covered with Alex Freeman, depending on how you're going to deploy it, and how you're going to use your subs as well too, because these are friendlies. And so from that standpoint, it's going to be interesting to see how that one works. And then finally, goalkeepers: Freeze, Turner, and Klinsmann. Let me know how you guys feel about this, because to me, it kind of makes sense. The two big injuries, obviously, to Ricardo Pepi, which is absolutely just it's kind of gutting when you think about it, because that dude was absolutely on fire with PSV. And then, of course, he has the arm injury. Man. And the timing was just absolute shitty for that to happen, but it is what it is, man. That's football. Obviously Tyler Adams. So you're essentially, your essential midfield captain's going to be out for this one. And so from that standpoint, it's a good opportunity to bring in some guys who haven't necessarily, played for a while. And so from that standpoint, it makes sense to bring in Johnny. But again, this is a 25-man roster. That makes sense. It's good enough to beat Belgium, good enough to beat Portugal on their day. And of course, the last time we saw this team, we actually went on a run, starting in that September window by beating Japan, and it carried over. And so from that standpoint, man, this team is on a roll, and now all of a sudden you have a golden opportunity against a team like Belgium. That's a very good team in Europe, and of course against Portugal. Depending on that, that's the kind of momentum that's going to carry you into the pre-World Cup warm-ups. And I believe we played Germany in that as well too. So one of the things that we want to see from this team is momentum going into the World Cup. And we want to be firing on all cylinders. And so from that standpoint, it's the Flo Balligans of the world. It's Christian Pulisic. It's Weston McKennie, Malik Tillman, Brendan Aronson, Tanner Tessman, Timmy Weah, Jedi. Our best players have to be able to take this team on their shoulders by the scruff of their neck and carry this team forward. Because if this team is firing on all cylinders, let me tell you, this summer is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be one for the record books, and it's going to be a memory that we carry. We still talk about 2002 because we almost got we got to a quarterfinal. We still talk about that, and that's 23 years ago. I was just a wee guy. Actually, I was like 20. But we still talk about it, right? So we still hold certain things near and dear to our hearts here in the US. And special moments. Yeah, dude, those are the type of moments that create legends. And not to sound poetic, but legends don't die. Not in this country, they don't. We remember those. And even if you're not, a hardcore soccer fan, I'm sure you still remember where you were when we beat Mexico in 2002 to advance. So from that standpoint, man, I'm just getting fired up, man. I can't believe it. We're close now. So, all right, you guys, let me know how the my 25-man roster looks for the March camp. Make sure, by the way, that you leave your comments in the chat, but mostly make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell as well too, because we have some things coming up here on Stateside Footy. And if you guys are watching on TikTok Live, the link is in the bio. So make sure you head on over and hit that like and subscribe button, or also follow me here on TikTok. Thank you guys. You guys enjoy your night.